Hey guys, and welcome back to another Unfiltered Gamer board game review, but this time we're doing a double feature with Poppycock and The Mole. This is the hilarious bluffing trivia quiz game, and The Mole is an adult party game for shady people. The Mole plays 3 to 8 players, roughly about 15 minutes per game, but you'll probably play multiple games in a row, and Poppycock plays 6 players, I mean it's like 2 to 6, really probably 3 to 6, and about an hour to play. In The Mole, you're playing a game similar to Spyfall. You are going to be having a variety of locations. All the players are going to know what location they're at except for one. That player is the mole. Everybody else is trying to determine who the mole is, and the mole is trying to determine the location. There's a location card that illustrates the different types of locations, like the amusement park, brothel, burning orphanage, circus, crashing airliner, dingy motel, drug deal, Hitler's bunker, nuclear submarine. It goes on and on from there. Whereas Poppycock is more like Wits and Wagers. This is a game where you're going to be basically drawing a quiz card, reading a question like, in Texas Hold'em Poker, what is the name of the 4th community card? The turn, river, or the flop? And then the player to your left is going to answer that question, and if they think they know it, they'll be like, oh, I know this, and they'll get to bet a number of points, or teeth, they call it. And everybody else is going to determine if they are persuaded by whether they believe the person knows it, or if they think it's Poppycock. And so instead of them telling you outright what the answer is, you have to determine if you think they know it based on kind of what the information they're giving you is. Oh, well, I played a lot of Texas Hold'em in the past, blah, 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 blah. And so everybody will vote, and based on if everyone believes him, he moves up. If he's right, he moves up. And if he's wrong, he moves back. And players, if they get it right, they'll move up. And it's this betting game that just moves along the game board like so. The mole basically ends when somebody finds who the mole is, or the mole finds the location, and Poppycock ends when one player's pawn goes through all the teeth and hits the finish line. They're unique games, definitely. They came from the same company, though, and I want to discuss both of them. So we'll go into both games. I'll do the basic how to set the game up, how to play each one of them, and then I'll cover them both in my review. Okay, so let's talk about the mole first and the setup for the game. The first thing you're going to do is determine how many players are playing the game. Then, for each player that's playing, you're going to basically add one of the location cards and a mole card. And you're going to put them in here. So if it's, for instance, the Rapture is one location, and there are, all the players playing, 8, you're going to add all of the cards in here, 7, and then you're also going to put one mole card in. And you'll do that for each individual location. So there's a total of 16 of these guys here, and they're all going to be filled before the game even starts. You're then going to set aside any extra cards you're not utilizing. You're going to shuffle up the question deck and deal out 5 questions to each player, and the round will then begin. It's a pretty straightforward, simple game, and how it works is one of the players will select one of the locations with the mole card in it, pull them all out, shuffle them, and deal 1 to each player. One player will have the mole, everyone else will have a random location, like, for instance, the porn film set. And then, from there, a player will begin, and how it works is you have 5 cards in your hand, you'll choose one of the cards, and you will play it on any player you want. Are any crimes being committed here? How stressed are people around here? What do you think would happen if I touch this button? And the player who you ask the question to will answer it based on the location or who they are in the location, as vague as they want. They can be very direct or very vague, but basically the problem comes in where the mole gets to hear the answer. And the more information that the mole gathers, the closer they are to finding out what location everybody else is at. And the mole is devising, based on the questions, where the location is. Everybody else is trying to determine who knows who is at actually the location and who is just pretending to be. And the game ends in a few ways. First way is the mole says, all right, you guys gave away too many clues. I know the location, and it's the Titanic. And if it is the Titanic, the mole wins. If not, they lose. The other way is if everybody groups up and picks a player and says, hey, I think Bill's the mole. He's been answering weirdly. He doesn't answer correctly. I'm voting for him. And then every other player unanimously votes for Bill. If Bill is the mole, then all the players win. However, if Bill is not the mole, then the mole will win. And those are the main ways to end the game, to end the round. Additionally, too, if everybody runs out of question cards, that will end the game. And if you don't have any question cards, you can't be asked a question. It's basically so everybody gets a chance to ask questions. If I ask you a question, it's your turn next, provided the game doesn't end, to ask somebody else the question based on the cards in your hand. There's a limited number of cards that are in the game, and everybody only gets 5 cards total for a round, so you're guaranteed not to have more than 5 questions per player per round, which almost never, ever takes that long. And that's the game. The mole figures a location out before everybody else suspects them and accuses them and gets them out into the limelight. And based on who wins, there's a number of points that are allocated. And I think it's the mole wins, he gets 2, everybody else wins, they get 1, and it's the best as many points as you really want. Now we have Poppycock. This game is pretty simple as well. You pull out the main game board, put it down on the table here. You'll take all the pawns of the players and place them on the start area. The whole board is not needed other than just this little area with the teeth. You could put the questions on the board, I suppose, if you want. And each of these questions has a category. Then every single player is going to get an A, a B, and a C card. These are basically your answers of the 3 different multiple choice answers for each of the questions here. You're going to take one of each of these, and then you're also going to take a Poppycock/Persuaded card. This is how you will determine if somebody is knows the answer or doesn't, or is lying about it, or not lying, or in fact knows it but chose the wrong answer anyway. And you'll have to kind of suss those players out. How the game works is pretty simple. After you've placed your pawn down, got your 4 cards, the Poppycock and all of your letters, player is going to take this card, roll this die, look at the color, associate the color with the little circle, and there's a question next to it. So SP, that is the blue number, as a blue circle. So in this case, I read the Texas Hold'em question, the turn, river, or flop. And so if I read it to Bill, Bill is now going to determine what the answer is. And so Bill will look at these cards here secretly and be like, okay guys, here's my answer. I know this, it's easy, I've been a poker player for years, or I'm not really certain on this, I've never played Texas Hold'em, but this sounds right, or I'm just guessing. And now of course they can be lying completely, it doesn't really matter, and it doesn't even matter if they don't have to answer correctly, they can choose whatever they want. But based on the interaction you have, you can ask him kind of questions and whatnot and poke and prod at him. Everybody else is then going to have the option to take these cards here, the Poppycock or the Persuaded card, and play them down. Once everybody has chosen Poppycock or Persuaded, then the answer will get revealed from the player who got asked the question, and then of course you'll flip over and see how they did. And in this case here, the turn is A, and he picked A, so he would be right. Now the only other little thing too is that whenever you get asked the question, you will have an opportunity to also bid based on how well you think you know, or how much you'd like to move forward. So if I knew it was the turn, and I'm picking the turn, I could bet 3 total teeth. You can bet 1, 2, or 3. And if I'm right, I would move up those 3 spaces. If everybody who also thought I was right, Persuaded, agreed with me, then they'd also move up 3 spaces. However, if there's a mix of people, then only people who said I was right would move up. Now, if everybody said I was right, however, I was wrong, but everyone also thought I persuaded all the people, I still move up even if my answer is incorrect. And if I'm wrong, and I'm not right here, and only a certain number of people thought I was right, but a few of them said I was wrong, they would move up instead. And that's pretty much the game. Move on to the next player. The next player will roll, the player who got asked will take the card, roll the die, and assign the question to the next player. And you'll continue progressing from there until somebody hits the finish line. A few little caveats to the game. There are yellow teeth on the board here, and whenever you're on these spaces, they provide a +1 movement bonus. And there is a advanced mode to the game where instead of ever staying in place, you instead move backwards. So in the base game, if you get the answer wrong, or if you are not persuaded when you should have been, or vice versa, you would normally move backwards. Well, in the advanced version of the game, so you normally not move, but in the advanced version of the game, you move backwards. So there's a little bit more of a, I guess there's more danger in the advanced version, and it's also a longer game mode. But otherwise, that's pretty much the game. It's a little bit like Wits and Wagers, if you played that game before. Otherwise, 2 really cool little games here. They're kind of based on games I've played in the past. Well, how do these guys hold up to scrutiny? Let's talk about it. the Mole. The Mole is basically Spyfall. It's essentially what it is. There's other games that are similar to it as well, in which one player is the bad guy, everybody else is like on a team, and they're trying to suss out who doesn't know the location, while the bad guy is trying to suss out what the location is. And it's a fight for whatever happens first, finding out who the mole is, or finding out the mole finding out the location, right? And that's literally the exact style of Spyfall. The difference between this and that game is in The Mole, you are playing with a little bit more of an 18 or 17 plus location styles. You're gonna have amusement parks, but you'll also have brothels. You'll have the zombie apocalypse. You'll have the rapture. And then each player is also going to get, like, for instance, if you're at the amusement park, you could be a mascot, you could be an ice cream vendor or a ride technician, a security guard, and you can answer questions based on that, you being that person at that location. Now, that I believe is also added to Spyfall, or it was in the original game, I'm not super certain, but based on these locations and kind of how they're a little more risque, you're gonna have a little bit more of an adult conversation in a lot of these in this style game as opposed to the other one. The other thing that's different about the Mole is question cards. I know for a fact that in Spyfall, when you have to ask a question to somebody, sometimes players are not super creative and they ask the same question over and over again every single round. This actually forces players to select a question. Now, you're less creative, obviously, because you can't ask your own custom question, but you're not gonna have to worry about turns taking a long time, players trying to determine what questions they want to ask. Just simply take one of these cards, point at a player, make them answer the question, and then learn a bit about that player. It's also a way to make sure everybody gets turns going back and forth with an equal number of questions as well. Is this game super different from Spyfall, even with what I've discussed? No, not really. It's really going to come down to preference. If you're looking for a game that's a little bit more of a mature theme, if you want a game that doesn't involve having to ask customized questions and you just want one that's already set them out for you, and these will work, replayability is fine with this game, because the questions are based on not only where you are, but what your specific job is, and there's 16 different locations, and you're likely not going to play this game more than 5 to maybe 10 times, with the likelihood of hitting the same location no more than 2 times in an entire playthrough, maybe 3 if you're unlucky. But otherwise, there's not a huge amount that's really different from Spyfall. I love Spyfall, I think it's a great game. This was a lot of fun as well. I do like the little different intricacies to the game, little added changes that they've made, but essentially, I like this as much as that game. If you already have that game or don't like that game, this is probably something I wouldn't likely pick up unless you're looking for a more mature theme. It's kind of like apples to apples, and then this is the Cards Against Humanity version of Spyfall. Because otherwise, it's a very, very similar style of mechanics. There are nuances, as opposed to Cards Against Humanity, which basically has no nuance other than the 18+ theme. But otherwise, yeah, it doesn't share a huge differentiation from that game. I do like the different locations. I think they work pretty well. I do like the kind of darker theme, and I don't think it ever got so dark where it was uncomfortable for anybody. It was mainly funny, silly, and a lot of the questions brought about some really unique and fun answers. Overall, if you're looking for a more mature game of Spyfall, The Mole is going to be an excellent game for you to pick up. If you've never played either of the games, then it's really going to come down to preference as to the style of game you're looking for. Of course, Spyfall has a ton of different themes, but I don't think any of them are mature, so this is kind of going to hit that sweet spot for that game specifically. Negatives, there's not really a whole lot of negatives other than, of course, this is a very similar game to that one, and if you already own it, you're not going to want to own this one. If you don't want to be caught being the mole, obviously you could be the mole and it puts you in a hot spot. It can be a little uncomfortable, and some players are not a big fan of that type of thing, being forced to be in the traitor role and forced to make these weird decisions. Or answer questions, or being the mole and the first question is from the person who asked you and you don't know anything about it, you don't get any bonus information from other players asking players questions, and so you're shooting in the dark, so you have to be super vague. Uncomfortability, I suppose, is where I would place this one. There's a possibility of that, but that is with all the games that are like this one. Then we have Poppycock. Poppycock is basically wits and wagers. You're going to be asking players questions, players going to determine if they know the answer or not. They can choose to lie or not, and they pick the answer, and people are going to basically bet on that player's choice. This has a limited number of question cards, obviously, and as you go throughout the game, it's probably only good for a number of playthroughs until the questions start getting repeated. There is a good chunk of them here, but that is something to be noteful of. This game is a little bit on the lighter side compared to Wits and Wagers. And as much as I kind of like the advanced play, it can push somebody very far back and it can progress the game too long, I think. So I actually prefer playing the regular version of Poppycock over the advanced mode of play, because that can just slog the game down a little too long. But if you like games of bluffing, games of trivia, and games of a little bit of chance, where you have to kind of like suss out what the player is thinking, what you think they know about what you think they know about that player and their knowledge, and also even if they do know the answer, are they lying? It's fun. There's a lot of cool, unique little twists and turns with this game, and I enjoy it. There's a little added bonus of the little yellow spaces having the +1 or -1 to teeth based on if you're on there or not. It's whatever, realistically speaking. The board is just a simulation for like how long you want the game to go, but realistically, all the game is based on these cards here and then determining if people are lying, basically calling Poppycock, or if you're persuaded with them and enjoying all the questions. They have some really great questions. None of them are super crazy, but they do fit into really good categories. There's like science, history, geography, people, media, that kind of thing. All these type of questions in here. And yeah, it works really well. As far as the same thing with the mole here is Poppycock is, you know, if you already have Wits and Wagers, a game like that where you're betting on players' answers and then being able to lie and you're trying to get as close, and that one you're trying to see who's the closest. This is more of, did they select A, B, or C? And whether they're right or not, you're not like betting on different people's votes. So this is a little bit more different than I would say the mole is to Spyfall from this is to Wits and Wagers, but it does have a lot of similarities. This is quicker. It's a quicker gameplay for the base version of the game. It's pretty straightforward, and you're gonna have a good time with it. I really enjoyed Poppycock. I thought it was a lot of fun. I think it was a really great job putting this game together. And yeah, there's not a whole lot I disliked about the game, other than I wouldn't play the advanced mode very much, just because of the length that the game can go and drag on for. Questions were great though. Quality for both of these games is fine. You know, there's not a huge amount of art presented here. It's mainly just graphic design, but I think that's all that's needed for these type of games anyway. And overall, yeah, both very enjoyable little games. Obviously, if you already have the previous versions of the games I've discussed, then these probably are not gonna like move the needle for you that much, unless obviously you're looking for a mature game here. But if you haven't heard of those games and you're looking for a game about persuasion, about bluffing, and about like knowledge of trivia, then Poppycock could be for you. And of course the mole here, if you've never played a Spyfall game or a game that's involving like finding the location out, then this is a solid choice as well. Both a lot of fun, really enjoyable little games here. I definitely suggest you at least give them a look out. Go ahead and check out the link down below in the description and see if these games are for you. And they have a ton of other games too. Thank you guys for watching another Unfiltered Gamer board game review for the game Poppycock, the hilarious bluffing trivia quiz game, and The Mole, an adult party game for shady people. Both of these are kind of like reimaginings of other classic games, and both those classic games are excellent, and these kind of have their own little twist. And yeah, I've seen a lot of these kind of things done before. This one, they both do a good job of this with a little bit of a different change to it. I'm glad that they're not just replicas, and I would probably have given it a negative review, but with the fact that there's changes and new twists and turns, I was very satisfied with these games, and I'll probably be keeping them for a while, especially The Mole, just because it's another version of Spyfall I can bring out for a specific type of crowd, and I do like that. Alright, if you like this video and you want to see more of this content, there's a like button, there's a subscribe button. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think about these two games. Have you played either of these two games, or Spyfall, or Wits and Wagers, or is there another game you can think of that's similar? Because these are kind of becoming their own genre at this point. As well as, hit the subscribe button? I don't know. I think I said that. Maybe I didn't. If not, you should do so. We have a live stream on Sundays at 7:30 p.m. PST, and we do have playthrough videos now going on the channel that you can watch weekly. Alright guys, that's it for now, and as always, I look forward to seeing you guys next time.